When your job, your hobby, and your all-consuming passion is to be at the helm of very fast boats, usually foiling, in top-end competition whilst delivering results, life in lockdown is truly at the opposite end of the spectrum. My guest on today's episode of Lockdown Fever is with Olympic gold and silver medalist Nathan Outteridge. From 49ers to Moths to the America's Cup to the turbocharged F-50s, it seems that Nathan can step into any boat and get the very best out of it very quickly. So I was curious to catch up with him and find out what he is doing to bide his time, how he is keeping fit, and how he can manage his Japanese SailGP team and his one-year-old son all at the same time.
Good morning.
Whoa, this is an early start. You know my chat about, there'll be loads of natural light at this time in the morning. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but why would you ever get up at that time anyway?
Well, I know exactly. Well, because I was thinking, if it gets later for you, it's harder with your little one and all that sort of stuff.
Well, no, thanks for thinking of me. As it turns out, this afternoon it's quite overcast, so I don't have a whole lot of natural light anyway.
So how are you?
Good. Getting a little bored, but apart from that, doing okay here. We're in Devonport in Auckland, and we've completed 4 weeks of lockdown so far.
I'm always that little Jack I can hear in the background.
Yeah, Em and Jack have just been for a walk. They just got home a couple of minutes ago, so I'm sure you'll hear them come buzzing in a second.
It's about to get a lot noisier.
We're about half an hour from dinner time, and he turns into a monster. So I've told him to behave himself today, but he's 1 year old. What's he going to do?
I kind of normally think if they think, right, that means I'm going to go absolutely crazy. This is awesome. I'm going to annoy people.
Pretty much.
So paint me a picture of life in lockdown for you. You've obviously got little Jack who's 1. What's it like? I know you're in New Zealand. You've been there. You've been in lockdown for a month, like you say. What's it like?
Well, we were obviously in Australia for SailGP at the end of February, and I spent a week up at Lake Macquarie with my family. And we got back here on the 11th of March, which was the day that the pandemic was declared. And Jack spent the whole flight high-fiving everyone on the plane. And we landed and we're just like, oh my God, what have we just done? Anyway, we then were in like a self-isolation mode once we got back because, the New Zealand government said, look, anyone who's just returned, lay low basically. And then about a week later, they shut the border. And then another week later, they just basically said everyone stay at home. So, we were thinking the month of March and April here was going to be a good time to catch up with all our friends that we hadn't seen, for most of summer. And we spend the whole time on our computers and phones talking to people who live around the corner. So it's quite odd, but for us, we're kind of used to being just the three of us on the road, traveling a lot. So it hasn't been so bad, and Jack's learning to walk, which has been quite cool. And I at the beginning of all of the lockdown, I thought, this is a great opportunity. We'll do some work on the house, on the gardens, and before we got into full country lockdown, we got a lot of materials ordered and delivered here. To make some veggie boxes and a lot of topsoil and lots of seedlings. And while I was at it, I got super keen and I bought new seed to, seed the lawn again because it had sort of died over summer. And so on day 3 of lockdown, I reseeded the whole backyard, and Em just looked at me and said, why are you doing this now? How we can't go anywhere, and now we can't even go on the grass out the back. So it's just come good now. The grass is now starting to come through, and Jack's been crawling around on a bit. So copped a bit of heat over that.
I can imagine. That's hilarious. I imagine you thought you were being so proactive, like I am on this, I'm going to get the jobs list done, and then you've basically eliminated the lawn for the whole lot of you.
Yeah, well, I thought, this is a fantastic opportunity. We're going to be here for 4 weeks, so I can make sure that, it's well looked after and it's watered properly and we can pull all the weeds out of it. I didn't think about the practical aspects of, that we couldn't use it at all. So we've been tiptoeing around the grass, trying not to kill the new seeds. But the one good thing is that the veggies that we've planted are at a stage now where we can start to eat some of them. So I wouldn't say we can live off what we've planted. It's mostly herbs and lettuces and things like that. But it's good garnish and it's keeping us healthy.
I love it. So it's not quite the good life yet, but you still need to go to the shops. But I love how proud you are of your veggies. It's twice you've mentioned it, and we've only been talking a couple of minutes. I love it.
Well, this is what happens when you can't go sailing. You've got to find something else to be completely obsessed with.
And that for you is vegetables.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
So obviously, as you say, you can't go sailing. And I know for you, sailing not only as a job, it's been a huge part of your life. It's been a hobby. That's how it became a job. So how are you keeping fit so that when we do come out of lockdown, you're ready to go? Because obviously there's SailGP and, everything that you need to be ready and fit for.
Yeah, it's odd. Like I don't think I've ever shied away from saying that I don't like going to the gym. I think anyone who's ever been in a team with me says I go to the gym in a very token fashion with a cup of coffee, and I'm there to make up the numbers more than, putting in the hard work. So it's quite tough because when you can't go on the water and get your release that way, and, I found I got quite fit from just sailing a lot and developing my skills and things like that. So I have had to take to doing some exercise. It's a very good excuse to get out of the house because it's the only reason why you're allowed to leave the house right now. And we live in a really cool area. There's a couple of little mountains, it's small volcanoes in North Head and Mount Vic just around the corner. And so there's a little 5-kilometer loop there where you can run up each mountain, which I do sort of every second day. And then every other day I do it on a bike. But there's been a challenge going around in the local area about for every day of lockdown, you're meant to do another climb of one of the mountains. So on day 1, it was just one up and down. But on day 10, you had to go up and down 10 times. And now we're in day 28 or something. It's just ridiculous. I don't know who would actually be able to do that physically, but people are doing it. I did 6 today. I just got back from doing 6, and I'm ready for a cold beer, to be honest.
Wow, that sounds like an absolutely incredible challenge. So when you said day 6, how far a run was that?
So the run's about a 5-kilometer run loop that I do. So that's manageable. I can manage to do that in about 45 minutes. A lot of it's like 45-degree incline, so not much fun.
So, but when you're at home, you're not like into yoga or stretching, you're not having to do anything. I know you can't go on the lawn at the moment, but anything like that?
Well, I used to do a lot of stretching in the gym because it was a really good way to get out of doing all the physical work. And now I find if I'm at home and I'm ever on the floor trying to do any form of stretching or core work, I have a little guy who's jumping all over me. And so what starts as good intentions and trying to be productive ends up me and him just rolling around wrestling. So I get very easily distracted when he's around.
Anything away from exercise. Well, it's so good that your exercise is sailing that you love. It's just at the moment you're having to find alternatives.
Exactly. And in New Zealand, they're changing the lockdown as of next week. So, a couple of days from now, they're going to be allowing a little bit more activity, which includes on-water activity. There's a big debate right now on, are they going to allow sailing? Because currently they've said they can allow swimming, paddleboarding, surfing, and luckily for me, windsurfing, because I just recently bought a foiling windsurfer, which I got 3 days before lockdown. It hasn't even touched salt water yet. I'm really good at rigging it up and putting the whole foil together and packing it up. And I've practiced putting it in and out of the car and all of that, but haven't made it down to the beach yet with it. So fingers crossed I can get out on that soon.
I love that scene. That sounds like desperate times that you've got. It's like a Formula One change. I can get it in the car really quickly. I can rig it really fast. I'm ready to go.
Well, you know what it's like when you've got kids. When you've got a small window to go and do something you love, you've got to maximize the amount of time that you've got. So I've effectively been training at home. How quickly can I get the sail rigged? I've been tuning it. I don't even know how to set up a windsurfer sail, but I've found excuses to rig it up on the grass now that there's grass and not just topsoil, which is good. And I'm pretty excited to go out of our little bubble here and go for a spin.
I bet. So one of my questions to you was going to be, what's the first thing you're going to do as soon as lockdown's over or partially over? That must be your answer, right?
Well, yeah, if there's breeze. Obviously, if there's no breeze, I'm going to sit there and look at the forecast on my computer till there is breeze, and then I'm going to go and do that.
And now I know, Nathan, that you're super close with your family. Obviously, you're with Emma and Jack, your immediate family, but you sailed with your sister Hayley, and your brother is a videographer, so he's always around. But you're known in the sailing world as a very close family. So, you know, are you missing them? Because obviously you used to spending lots of time with them around the world, and now that's sort of on pause.
It's on pause, and you know, I was talking to mum and dad a couple of days ago, and you know, they were saying, oh, well, it sounds like Australia and New Zealand might, you know, strike up some deal where, you know, you can travel between the two countries in the future. And I just said, yeah, no, that'd be great, but I have a feeling that could be closer to Christmas than now, you know, with the way that it's all going. Who knows, it could change, but as you say, like, I'm used to spending quite a lot of time with, you know, Hayley, you know, when we start a lot on the NACRA together. Bo seems to show up at every event that I'm at, whether he's working for my team or he's working for the event. He's always there with the camera in my face. So right now, it's only been about 6 weeks since I've seen everyone. So it's not so bad. And we do go through stretches of a lot of time together and a lot of time apart. And I think probably like most people, we just think, oh, any minute now, life will go back to normal and we'll see all our friends and family again. But when you watch the news and you hear about what's going on, and you see, you know, the Prime Minister's always talking about, you know, we're going to be really strict with our border lockdown because that's the best way to, you know, contain this, particularly in New Zealand, which is such a small island, which had only 3 new cases here today. You know, I don't see them opening up the border for a while. So I guess that's the beauty of all the online communications. You know, Jack spends most of his time now on the phone talking to aunts and uncles and grandparents. And we spent the first year of his life saying, no phones, no computers, they don't exist. And now he's worked out what the red button does. That hangs up on everyone. He loves that. And he knows how to turn the camera around. And I don't know, I'm sure if I left my phone unlocked, he'd find a way to get into all sorts of mischief. And, you know, he can't even walk yet. So it's crazy. But no, it's a bit hard not knowing when you're going to see your family again, but it'll happen at some point in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're all just so unknowing. I love how you described that, and I can just imagine it. You know, you start off with young children with all these sort of morals and ethics, this is what's going to happen, and then things like this happen, you're like, hey, we're going to take the path of least resistance here, everything's going to be fine.
Well, it's the same also, like we never watch TV, and so Jack doesn't even know what that thing on the wall does. And then as soon as the news came on, it's like, okay, well, now we watch TV in the evening to find out what's going on. So he grabs the remote, he turns the TV on, he turns it off. So now we have to pull the batteries out of it all the time.
So you don't watch TV? One of my questions to you was, are you watching anything? Like, are you watching any series? What sort of in the evenings? But you don't watch TV?
No, and to be honest, we don't even have that much time available to do it. You know, between looking after the little guy and still trying to do all the things I need to do for Team Japan, keeps us quite busy. Here he is. Hey, mate, you want to come say hello? Oh.
Hey, Jack, how are you?
Can you wave?
Oh, there's a scary lady.
He just wants to push all the buttons on the keyboard, don't you, mate?
Yeah, he's probably thinking, if I push the red button, I know what that means, and then I get Daddy back all to myself.
Yeah, look, perfect distraction. You use the phone, man.
Oh, he's gorgeous. He's gorgeous. But I mean, I know the three of you often travel around the world together. It's very important to you that they're, you know, inclusive. They're often at events with you. But actually being at home together, he must be like, hey, the daddy one's around quite a lot.
Yeah, I think he's trying to work out how did this happen all of a sudden where I've got 2 parents pretty much all the time. As I was saying before, like, it is obviously very busy with him. He's a very busy little boy, and if he doesn't get his way, he gets quite upset at you. As you can see right now, he wants to stand on the table. But it's yeah, we spend a lot of time together traveling, and we obviously now Jack gets to spend a lot of time with his dad, and we've been taking it in shifts each day. You know, wave, Jack? We take it in shifts of looking after Jack. So one morning I'll have him, Em will have him, then in the afternoon, because that's the only way you can actually get anything productive done.
He is a wriggly one, isn't he?
He is a wriggly one.
There's your weight training right there.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of that going on, that's for sure. All right, you want to go say mum? There you go.
Hi, Emma.
You keep the noise down during dinner, buddy.
Okay, if I'm quiet, it means I'm going to chuck stuff at the walls. And what about Sorry?
And on the ground.
Yeah. So your DIY jobs list, you mentioned veggies, you mentioned the lawn. Anything else? Is there anything left that you've got to do?
Well, we sat down on the first day of lockdown and wrote a list and said, what do we need to do around the house? Because clearly this is where we're going to be. And the list is here, I think. It's very long. Right.
Wow.
That's the list. And, we've got stuff to do in the garden, stuff to do on the outside, preparation for lockdown, things to do on the inside. And right now it's probably about 80% done, which is good. And most of the things that we couldn't do were things that we needed, a shop or something to be open with. So we started with building veggie gardens because we thought the whole world was going to end and we had to feed ourselves. Luckily, that hasn't happened yet because the veggies we're growing are, as I said, kind of just garnish. But yeah, I've cleaned the entire outside of the house. Em and I have cleaned the entire inside of the house. I don't know, there's things like this. Em restocked the whole bookshelf. You can see here behind us. She had to categorize it as so different genres, read, unread. And I tried to fit a couple of things of mine in there that resemble some form of sailing. So I don't know, there's plenty of stuff, but the main goal I have is to make sure that everything is 100% ticked off before lockdown's over, because I don't plan on doing any work on this house again once lockdown's over.
You are done. Now, I've heard lots of people talk about the jobs list. I've never actually seen one. That was incredible. Massive sheet of paper. You said there was about 80% done, so a few bits left.
There's still a few bits left, but it's a house, so there's always stuff to do on the job list. And we were very chuffed. I think after the first week, we had about 80% of it done. And then we're just like, we better slow down because we'll run out of things to do. Now, there's a couple of spare bedrooms that have still got quite a lot of mess, and we just keep the door shut to those and don't worry about that because we don't have any visitors coming, so why do we need to get them ready?
Yeah, that's definitely the next stage. And in the evenings, when you mentioned that you're talking to people close by, loads more virtually, are you having lots of Zoom chats with friends? I mean, I know whenever I interview, it's always about your rivals, but actually you're pretty good friends with your rivals, aren't you?
No, we have had a few Zoom chats. It's funny, with my job with Japan and SailGP, I have on average about 5 calls a week. Can you hear the noise in the kitchen?
Oh yeah, it sounds active.
But yeah, we have like on average 5 calls a week, and so that keeps us busy. And most of those are in the evening with the way the time zones work.
We might.
I told you it's going to get noisy.
Might need to move. Is he just chucking pans on the floor?
He has a drawer down the bottom, and it's just all the plastic plates and stuff. And his favorite activity is to literally just rip one out at a time and throw them on the ground. Once he gets them all out, he quietens down a little bit, hopefully.
It's only a matter of time. Yeah. So you're being sociable, but lots of virtual chats.
Virtual chats for work, but also virtual chats with the family. Like Em's brother lives in the UK, and he just had a little girl with his partner who's about 3 months old now. So we've not been, we were hoping we'd get to Europe this year to meet her, and that's obviously not going to happen. So we've been talking to them a lot, and, talking with my mum and dad and Bo, who are in Wanji at the moment. And my sister actually only ever calls when Jack's awake. She literally will send a WhatsApp message and say, is Jack awake? And if he's not awake, she'll be like, oh, okay, I'll try tomorrow. And I'm like, you can talk to me as well if you want. She's like, no, I just want to see Jack.
I love that, just the brutal honesty between siblings.
Yeah, she doesn't hide it. That's okay. Well, that's fair enough. So I'm like, okay, he goes to bed at this time and he wakes up at this time, so you got to pick your windows. But yeah, she's in Perth at the moment, so quite a time zone difference for us there.
Yeah, he really takes that drawer apart, doesn't he?
He does. And once he's done with that, he goes to the spices drawer and starts pulling them out. So that'll be the next noise.
That's why the job list is so long. It's always tidying up. And so, Nathan, what have you learned about yourself whilst lockdown's been on?
What have I learned about myself? That I can go a month without sailing. I've probably done it maybe once before in the last 15 years, but it's not much fun. I've learnt that I can actually build things. I didn't know I could actually build things, like, again, the veggie garden. I had to use tools. I had to use a handsaw and a drill. So most people think that I just delegate orders when it comes to doing work on boats, which is kind of true. But now I realize that I could maybe do a couple of jobs myself, which is quite cool. What else have I learned? I don't know. To be honest, for us, our life hasn't changed so much. You know, when we're in Auckland, here in Devonport, we're at home mostly all the time. When you got a little one, you don't go out for dinner. You don't go out drinking. Besides going for coffee during the day. So all the cafes are shut. So we've had to learn how to make our own coffee. But, you know, besides, you know, catching up with some friends and going for a morning walk and having coffee and me getting out on the water, life for us hasn't been that different. You know, I think we feel very lucky to be like that. And I'm pretty happy Jack's at the age he's at, because it's quite cool to actually spend some time with him. I think had he been older, trying to keep him confined to a house would be quite tough, but he's at a good age right now.
Let me tell you, it is. With 6 and a 3-year-old, it's really tough. That's why I'm actually really enjoying this time, because they are in bed. It's very quiet in the house. You mentioned there that you haven't, you know, sailed for a month. You obviously used to adrenaline pumped action, extreme sports. Have you got anything that's filling the void? Because obviously it's not that just you like to do it. You know, it's something that makes your brain tick, and it's something that is part of you.
I'd love to say that I've got something that's filling that void, but, you know, you can only watch so many YouTube videos of past races and things like that. And, you know, with SailGP right now being, you know, on hold and we don't know when we're going to get back into it, it's hard for us to really make a plan. You know, normally I'm either sailing and busy with that, or I'm planning for the next event. And with, you know, no Olympics on the cards for Haley and I now, after missing selection a couple of months ago, and no SailGP for the foreseeable future, might not be until the end of the year. There's nothing to plan either. So it's really hard. I find myself walking around the house just trying to work out what I should be doing. And I look at my job list on the house and I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. But I am really keen to learn some new skills. And, you know, as I said, I bought a foiling windsurfer just the other day, and I got a foiling sup board with one of those wing things, which I had about 2 or 3 goes on. And I just started to get the feeling like, okay, this could be a new skill that I'd love to learn. But you know, there's only so many times you play with it in the backyard, and you got to get on the water and do it. So yeah, it's tough, but I think, you know, we're just making the most of spending time together as a family, knowing that the moment, you know, I can get out there, I'll be getting out there, getting my fix again.
You'll be gone.
I said to Em, I said, we've got to get everything done now, because if there's any wind, I'll be gone. I won't be gone all day, because clearly I'm not going to be fit enough, but a couple of hours here and there each day would be great.
You're gonna have to start building again. We're talking about the Japanese SailGP team. I know that on a team, camaraderie is quite important. Are you staying in touch? Because as you say, we should have had a couple of events already, and we don't know when the next one's going to be. So it's important to keep that side of the team alive, even if you can't be together and train together.
Yeah, absolutely. Like our management team, you know, get together, you know, quite a few times a week. We're always talking about, you know, sponsorship and, you know, logistics and dealing with the event and trying to get the idea on what the plan's going to be. And then on top of that, we've been having, you know, regular team meetings. So the full team have been getting together once a month on a call, and just sort of, you know, I give them a bit of an update on where we're at, which is, you know, we don't really know what's going on yet. So what's everyone been up to? And it's been quite cool to hear everyone's, you know, what they've been up to in their own lockdown, and hearing how each country is quite different. You know, we've got guys from 5 or 6 countries within our team. A few people in Australia, a few people in New Zealand, of course, Japan, and a couple of guys in Europe and America. So hearing from them their stories about when they were aware that they were about to go into lockdown. And, you know, in Japan, they've been business as usual the entire time. And it's only just recently that they're starting to realize they might have to have some restrictions. So it's been quite good to do that. We've got plenty of WhatsApp groups, so there's plenty of banter on those. The sailing team have been getting together fairly regularly just to check in with each other. The guys who are in Australia are still able to get out on the water and go sailing, so they just keep sending us videos of them out sailing, which is making the rest of us quite jealous. And it's important to keep connected. And the thing with SailGP is that, he loves noise. But the thing with SailGP is that we are a bit remote. We're not all living in one country. It's not like the America's Cup where you spend all day, every day with your entire team. We're a small team of 17, sort of spread across the world, and we meet, at each event for 2 weeks and then go home. So again, the fact that we should be in San Francisco right now for the next event is obviously really disappointing we're not there, but assuming we get up and running and do racing again in the future, it'll be probably business as usual for us again soon.
Yeah, let's hope so. Well, I love hearing all the noise in the kitchen in the background. It sounds like a very busy time. Now, you mentioned your veggies, and I know you're vegan, and I know last year in Japan when we were at the test event, we chatted loads about it. So have you become a bit of a dab hand in the kitchen over this time?
I would be lying if I said yes, and my wife can hear me. So no, I definitely appreciate the great food that we eat, and I have my opinions on what are my favorites. But I think I sold it to Em when we first got together that I was quite handy at cooking food. And for a while there, I was very handy on the barbecue. But since we've stopped eating meat, there's not much left I can cook. So, Em just said he's found 2 bottles and now he's smashing those together, which is great. He's almost about to eat. But no, I definitely appreciate good food, but I'm probably, I think it's best that I don't cook it and Em cooks it. She's very good at that. And usually what happens in our family is that we take it in turns, as I said. And once he's done dinner, I give him a bath and Em gets dinner ready. So it's a good little routine.
It works.
Can I show you what he's doing? Go, Jack. Are you hungry?
Has he learnt that from you, Nathan?
Yeah, his patience comes from me, obviously.
Just whack the table until food arrives. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, that is everything. Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate. I mean, I've loved meeting Jack and all the noise. It's just life in lockdown, isn't it? It's noisy. You can't lock yourself away. You can't do anything. It's real.
No, well, no, you can't. And I've often when I'm on calls, for work, I spend as much time as I can on mute because normally Jack's pulling at me or jumping on my lap, and I've got Russell Coots there, giving us all the update, and then he'll ask me a question. I have to hold Jack while I try and respond. He's good value. But it is life in lockdown, and I think for us, as I said, it's not a major change, and we're coping just fine. But I can imagine it's probably pretty tough for a lot of people that are used to having kids at school and both parents working full time. Now to be working full time at home with your kids would be quite full on.
Yeah, it's intense. I think it's been a huge learning curve for everyone. But I'm glad to know that you're all safe and well. I'm guessing Jack's eating now because it's gone silent.
He's just loving his dinner. So that's he gets really on edge when you're making it, and then the moment he gets the first mouthful, he just goes quiet until he decides he doesn't want that one anymore.
And also for you, it must be beer o'clock now, huh? I mean, it's 6.
It is. No, it's 5 p.m. here, 5:01. So good time to sign off.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nathan. It's lovely to talk to you and lovely to meet Jack virtually.
Yes. No, it was great to chat, and sorry you had to wake up so early, and I'm glad that everyone got to meet Jack.
Join me next week to find out how a sailing couple are getting on with life in lockdown. I catch up with world match racing champion Taylor Canfield and his fiancée Stephanie Roble, who is the 49er FX helm representing the USA at the 2020 Olympics, now rescheduled to 2021.